So essentially, the points of discussion from today will be what is eoStar, because I have a couple of definitions to throw out to you and discuss. What are our primary markets? Primary markets will kind of dictate the industry knowledge that you will need to properly understand eoStar and support people and help on the implementation side. We'll talk about the typical eoStar customer, and spoiler alert, there's no typical eoStar customer, but we'll give you a range of sizes, product portfolios, a variety of dimensions to look into. And then we'll discuss the 3 levels of knowledge: industry, actors and flows, and internal processes. So we have a few related documents that I'll share with you guys that you can use. And like I said, we'll have kind of a deliberate path to learning over the next few months to bring up to speed on those 3 things, as they're the foundation to your true understanding of eoStar. Instead of just the mechanical side of eoStar, understanding why we're doing things the way we are. So, what is eoStar? I've got 2 definitions right here. And by the way, I will send you that presentation, so you don't have to take notes on everything. But I'm seeing you. There's no need to transcribe the actual presentation, just the relevant notes. But again, funny enough, I've got two definitions and not just one. They're actually both accurate. One is more technical. The other one is more how we would present ourselves, because the first one is the scientific and technically accurate one. The second one is how our customers view us. That's their terms, their perception of what we are and what we do. So let's go over those 2 definitions, and as you can see, I highlighted a couple of terms for each definition: ERP, DSD, RAS, Beverage. So we're going to discuss those concepts right there, because these are, again, foundational elements. So ERP, big word, enterprise resource planning. It's an integrated information system that serves all departments within the enterprise. Usually, when people think ERP, they think SAP, they think Oracle, they think big type, huge type applications. But we are an ERP in the fact that we have the 2 components: integration and breadth. From eoStar, if you look at it as a platform, you can do purchasing, we interface with manufacturing, we interface with finance, we have integrated modules for truck optimization, for palletization, for reporting, for business intelligence. With your reporting, we have integrated modules for surveying your markets, goaling, account objectives. So whether it's on the sales side, whether it's on the operational side, administrative side, samples and bill backs, and financial side, margins, lading costs, cost of goods sold, and so on, we have all of those within a single application. Or we do interface with components, that provide that functionality. So it's not a single-purpose type application that serves a subset of users where we work. Everybody within our customers uses eoStar. The only exception would be on certain areas on the financial side where they may use a dedicated a GL package, but we interface with that. So one way or another, they're going to export the information from eoStar. So we are in an ERP system. What is DSD? So it's direct store delivery. It's a distribution network based on independent wholesalers making direct deliveries to retailers, and essentially bypassing these retailers' potential private distribution networks. Here, we're going to move this up for just a second. I'm going to draw the standard retailer distribution network. So this is, I have 3 stores right here. And this is a W. Those are Walmarts. How do they get their products? You're going to have a big Walmart distribution center that interfaces with a variety of suppliers. And these suppliers are here. They'll send stuff to actually like a giant center. Then they'll go to a local regional distribution center, and then the products are going to go to the stores, and they go on a pull basis. That's where Walmart is awesome. They have very strong capabilities in terms of replenishment and moving products within their distribution network very efficiently. Hence, their good prices. So this is a traditional distribution network where Walmart is in control of all of this. Well, DSD is a different approach. You have your Walmart stores at the bottom, and then you're going to have an independent distributor that will interface with a subset of suppliers, so essentially the same thing. And then the stores actually do not make requests directly to that store, to that distributor. The distributor is going to send either a driver or a pre-seller, and those guys are going to go to the stores, evaluate what is needed, then send the orders back to the distributor. They're going to pick the orders, load them on trucks, and then go back and make the deliveries. So why would you do that? That's what we're going to talk about in a minute when it comes to certain highly regulated industries like alcohol and beer. This is by law, the system. So we'll talk about why they do that in just a minute. But I just wanted to specify that this is our target market, these distributors. So who does that? You have beer distributors, you have Frito-Lay and this type of products. You have Coke that does that, you have Pepsi that does that, you have the Red Bull distributors that do that. So you have a slew of beverage and food distributors that use this particular system. For some of them, it's for efficiency purposes. For some of them, it's by by law. It's mandatory. So, and as you can see, this is called direct store delivery because you're bypassing the distribution network, going directly to the stores, for requesting the order. Okay.
Oh, no, too far.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
So, there are different methods of delivery for direct store delivery. Off-truck is one of the most common, and that's essentially dying and going away, on the beer side, which is our primary market. So what is an off-truck delivery? An off-truck delivery is when, Marlene, right?
Yes.
It's my wife's middle name.
Oh, okay. That should be easy for you.
Yeah, exactly. It used to be, let's say you're a Bud distributor. We don't do Bud right now, but you're a Bud distributor. You put a lot of Budweiser and Bud Light on your truck, and then you just go from customer to customer and go to a supermarket, a bar, a restaurant, and so on and say, hey, what do you need today? And you grab it off your truck, write up a little invoice, on the spot, you get paid, and you just go, go on, from customer to customer. So it's still what Coke and Pepsi do for the most part, but in most beverage in the beverage industry, there's been a lot of growth in the type of products that they sell. So they ran into issues pretty quickly. It was okay when you had 10, 12 types of products on your truck, but what if you're like our customers now? You have 1,000 potential products that you can put on your truck. What do you put in which quantity? Because if you put 20 of something, maybe it's not going to sell. It took up some valuable space on the truck, and or maybe 20, the first customer buys the 20 cases, and then nobody else that day can buy it. So they saw some limitations there. It was efficient because you had a single stop to make at a customer, but they realized that there was an opportunity cost because there were a lot of missed sales, and so they came up with a different system which is called pre-sell, where now it's a two-stop approach. You send a pre-seller to a store, and they say, okay, what do you need? They write up an order. You have all of the products in your warehouse, so you're not losing potential sales at this point. Then those products get put together either into truckloads, we'll talk about that later, or individual orders for each store. And then you have a second stop, which for most of our customers it's the next day. You know, you do have some that are 2 days out, but it's extremely rare that it's beyond that. And essentially, then the driver is going to come out and make the delivery. So this is, you know, the trend, and it's been the trend in the beer business. It's becoming the trend on the soda side as well. But it's called the pre-sale system. As you can see, it's a little more expensive. You have a pre-seller in a van, and all they do is go out, you know, they try and build a relationship, the trust, so that when they make a recommendation, hey, you should try this, you know, the retailer will listen. But it's a little more expensive. So not every account has the same potential. You have some accounts that will order 3 cases a week. You know, I mean, it's a little mom and pop, you know, C-store, you know, in the middle of nowhere, or a little restaurant where maybe, you know, they actually like, you know, more Bud stuff, and you're the Miller Coors distributor, and they'll buy 3 cases a week because they have a couple of grandpas that come and buy this. For these guys, or if they're far out, it may not make sense, you know, to have that 2-step process. So what they do is, you know, telesell. Essentially, they'll have people from within the distributor call, you know, those guys, and hey, is it still the same 3 cases you want this week, or, you know, every other week? Yeah, absolutely. You know, so they'll do that first, you know, transaction over the phone, and then they'll make the delivery. So they don't have the fuel, you know, the mechanical cost and mileage and everything, you know, on the van. And for other type situations, you know, telesale type accounts, we also see a trend towards web ordering, where you don't even call them; they self-order. You know, so it's even, you know, less expensive. And we do have a solution, you know, for that. We do have a web ordering portal where it's pretty popular on the on-premise side. On-premise and off-premise are, on-premise is consumption of the alcohol where you buy it. Off-premise is you buy it and you go drink it somewhere else, hopefully legally in a public space, in a non-public space. But so if you're a bar owner, the bar closed, it's midnight, you look at what you have in stock. Okay, I need, you know, 3 cases of this and a keg of that. You hop online, you know, place your order, and it, you know, may come the next day, or not too far after that. So these are essentially the DSD delivery methods. You know, you have the order entry piece, one way or another, and then you have the delivery piece. Off track happens, you know, at the same time. All the other modes are, you know, dissociated with order entry and delivery at the different time. eoStar supports all, you know, of those new methods, and I'm sure you've seen some of the screens, and you've discussed the applications that enable, you know, these various, you know, modes of delivery. So, any questions on that so far?
Can you go back? I think I probably missed where you explained upside accounts.
Oh, the limited upside. What I mean is, I should have put in here maybe potential. You know, the accounts that have limited potential, you're not going to invest as much, you know, in those. So there's a cost benefit to servicing all of those accounts. We'll talk about the mindset of beer distributors in just a couple of slides, but just as a heads up. Beer distributors have a monopoly over their territory. So if you're selling, you know, Coors Light, nobody else can sell Coors Light. You know, in your territory. So they feel like they have a strong responsibility to deliver the product because retailers cannot go and get it anywhere else, and they almost take it too far to the point where they'll go 50 miles out of their way to make a 1-case delivery. You know. So it was okay for the longest time. When I was in South Carolina 10 years ago, with, you know, a gallon of gas costing 80 cents, not that big of a deal. At $4 a gallon, you're starting to look at it as more, okay, yeah, we know we have that responsibility, but we have to be smarter about, you know, how we're gonna, you know, maximize our delivery network. So they're starting to look at minimum quantities on orders. They started to look at delivery charges if the invoice is less than 10 cases or $100, or, you know, maybe we only service you every 2 weeks. That way you do order 5 cases, you know. So essentially, that's why they look at the account upside or potential. You know, how much can we, you know, hit in terms of, you know, sales there, and based on that, well, you know what, you're ordering 3 cases, you know, 3 cases a month. You know, we're gonna put you on telesale. you know, and those are decisions that they have to make. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, thank you.
So RAS, it's almost, you know, a route accounting system is the name that all of our customers call us for marketing purposes, and that was before me. You know, we call ourselves route management system because management sounds better than accounting, but sorry, but essentially, you know, route accounting system is the industry term, you know, for what we provide. It stems from the prior slide, that off-truck process. Each, you know, truck was considered a route because they would service a subset of the customers. So each subset of customers is a route. You have Route 1, and Route 1 is 120 customers, and you're going to service, you know, 20 and 20 a day with, you know, a rotation, you know, every other week. You know, you're not going to see them, you know, every week. So that subset of customers is, you know, called a route. Well, put yourself in the shoes of those, you know, distributors. You are giving a driver $10,000–$15,000 worth of inventory, and they're, you know, you put it on their trucks. They leave in the morning, and they need a way at the end of the day to reconcile that truck and say, look, you left with $15,000 worth of product. You either come back with $15,000 in cash, you know, or $15,000 in products, or anything in between. But at the end of the day, you know, what you left with needs to come back either in the form of money or in the form of products. So this is where route accounting comes from, because you have to have, as part of your system, a way to reconcile those trucks that went out with some inventory and either come back with cash or inventory. So I made the point of the ERP system, you know, earlier. We go way beyond that now. You know, we have a POS request, you know, plug-in where people can in the field say, I need a neon for that bar, and then you can look at whether that neon helps you, you know, increase the sales at that particular account. So we are way past, you know, the route accounting piece, but the term is stuck. So people are going to say, you know, in Miller Coors, all the suppliers, all the people we talk to use, you know, hey, you're a RAS system, and it's interesting. Even our competitors like Encompass, their marketing material now is, you know, beyond route accounting, full distribution system. You know, they're trying to change the perception. But you have to understand, you know, what a RAS is, because we're considered a RAS vendor, you know, from beverage suppliers. And so it's specialized software for DSD distributors, you know, that have those trucks going out and making deliveries. That includes the ability to reconcile the delivery routes. Like I said, key takeaway is that that's how people call us. We do way more than that, but that's what it is. You know, we can't change that. So, Beverage, we're DSD, you know, solution for beverage distributors. Sorry, that's not quite accurate, but that's 95% accurate. So I think we'll call it good enough. I'm sure Ben has mentioned that we have a pizza distributor in Minnesota. We have a bakery goods distributor in Florida. We have Paramount Coffee in Michigan, and they, you know, distribute coffee. So we have, you know, a few oddball type customers, but I think we got those initially as we were, you know, targeting the overall DSD market. Once we started, you know, having more traction, you know, in the beverage space, it's become more of our focus, and we're not proactively trying to attract the other segments at this point. You know, we have our work cut out with the beverage side, you know, already. So on the beverage side, we cover a subset of beverage distributors. So we don't even have full coverage yet. There's interest, you know, from the other segments, you know, in eoStar, and part of our growth over the next, you know, few years is actually, you know, transition horizontally into those other segments. But we're primarily a Miller Coors market, meaning that if you look at the beer business, you have essentially Budweiser, that's 50% of the market. You have Miller Coors, that's 30% of the market. Then you have essentially, you know, imports and your crafts, and that's the remainder. Well, the Miller Coors distributors are again 30% essentially of, you know, the 30 or 40% of the beer distributor space. and they tend to have a good coverage on the imports and craft side. You don't really have a lot of imports only distributors or craft only distributors. There's a few. Modern is almost Modern in town is a customer of ours that has a couple of imports and a lot of crafts. But most distributors are either in the Bud network, the Red network, or the Miller Coors network, which is blue silver, or silver blue. It's silver for the Coors Light type stuff. Miller Lite is blue, so red is anything Bud, and I'm sure we'll get you guys forwarded into subscribe to that Beer Business Daily newsletter that we get on a daily basis. And if they talk about the Red network or Silver network, Blue network, it's Miller, for blue, Coors for silver, and red is Bud all the way. So we are a Miller Coors strategic partner that came about in 2007. So they proactively recommend us. We're part of the 304 systems that they stand behind, and they have evaluated our compatibility and like our support and everything. So most of our customers are Miller Coors distributors. We have customers on the wine side. We have some smaller customers that are wine only, but most of our customers, a lot of our customers, not most of our customers, but a lot of our customers on the beer side are expanding into wine. And it's kind of a case-by-case basis, but we have situations like in Montana. We have three or four of the Montana distributors, and they all carry wine. You can imagine, big state, you want to maximize that truck. If you're going to go out 100 miles to make a delivery, you want to sell as much as possible to that customer. So Fun Beverage in Montana has 7,000 products. 6,000 of them are wine, and 1,000 are beer. Ken Beverage locally, same thing. I think has 6,800 total SKUs. So we have a mix of wine-only distributors that tend to be on the smaller side, and then we have beer wine distributors. We rolled out Manhattan Beer Distributors last year, and one of the reasons they picked eoStar was they're in the state of New York, largest single market distributor in the country, 5 locations in and around New York, and 33 million cases. They wanted to get into the wine as well, so we have a lot of customers that do that. We have customers that do energy drinks, same thing, either standalone, and we have the largest Red Bull distributor in the country. Ben was part of that implementation. There are, same thing, 5 or 6 warehouses in New Jersey and New York, and $150 million worth of Red Bull, a year. So a huge distributor. And we're getting back into the soda space. We just got that master agreement with Coke, so we're originally targeting the independent bottlers. So Coke has their own distribution network, and and that's 80% of their business right now, and 20% of the business nationwide is through independent new bottlers. And essentially, we went through a year-long evaluation process, and they picked us. We beat SAP and 6 other valve accounting systems. And over the next 3 to 4 years, we have to roll out 67 independent bottlers, and then we'll see where that takes us, because some of the bottlers on the Coke network side are interested, and it's a global agreement, so it could be ported to other countries, and so huge opportunities in that space. So that's essentially our current coverage. We've got AB distributors that are begging to get on our platform, so we could open up another 50% of the beer market there. We have interest from Pepsi distributors. Right now we have a non-compete because Coke, but that's like a temporary, it's just a couple years. So Pepsi could become a potential opportunity. Right now we're 100% focusing on Coke. We have 2 pilots that are underway, but I hope that you get a better understanding of why we're growing and why we're hiring and doing construction and everything. So that's the beverage side. Any questions on again our current verticals and potential future verticals? like I said, there's other industries, other beverage areas like milk and water distribution. We've had some interest in that, and there's other industries that do DSD. Apparently pharmaceuticals is one of them. There's we talk about Frito-Lay and baked goods. I mean, there could be other opportunities, but right now we're definitely focusing on the beverage side. So what's the typical eoStar customer? Like I said, there's no really such thing as a typical customer because of if you look at those spectrums in terms of size, portfolio, and operational complexity, there could be more ways to evaluate our customer base. But we go from 13,000 cases a year to 33 million a year. So we have distributors like Manhattan that does 33 million, Andrews does 30 million, J.J. Taylor is like 27, 28, Monarch is 17, we have Allied around 15, and then we have a bunch of, again, smaller wine boutiques that, again, they're not retail shops. They sell to wine boutiques, but what I mean by boutique is that they're very specialized. I think it's Vintage, right, in California? Strange wines in California. 13,000 cases, Northern California, selling to the stars. It's they sell into the high-end shops in California, and so we kind of run the gamut there. In terms of portfolio, it can be any mix of beer only. I'm working on an implementation with Houston Distributing. They just signed, and it's a 10 million case operation in Houston, and they take pride in the fact that they're beer only. They have like one NA item, but that's not necessarily the norm. The norm is more like where I used to work at, in South Carolina, where they have the Miller Core stuff, they have all of the imports, Corona, Heineken, and so on, and they have craft beers, and they're trying to get into wine. They had some of the energy drinks. They used to have Monster, now they have Rockstar, and so on. So our customers really run the spectrum there, from having everything to specializing in certain areas. They tend and try and specialize because there's a craft beer renewal, and those are premium products. Energy drinks, are cash cows. A case of Milwaukee Best, you're going to sell to a retailer for, let's say, $10. A case of Red Bull, you're going to sell for 30. So it's to say it's taking up the same amount of space on your truck. What would you rather sell? You can imagine the margin is going to be better. You pay more, obviously, but still, you're going to make a couple of bucks a case, on the Milwaukee Best. You're going to make $6 to $8 a case on the Red Bull, So same thing on the Corona. Corona is like 27 bucks a case. You're going to make, $3, $4, $5, as opposed to. So they're trying to expand their portfolio, maximize, truck, efficiency, sell as much as possible to your customers, and gravitate towards high end and high margin products. Then operational complexity is a spectrum that I wanted to highlight because it's been an area of growth for the application and area of need for our customers. Customers will be simple customers where, hey, I've got Route 10 that has 400 cases tomorrow, and I'm going to throw those 400 cases on a truck. And when the guy gets there, it's a 16 bay truck. He's going to open bay by bay, and see, oh, I need a case of this, I need a case of that. He's going to go around his truck and essentially build the final order, when he gets to the retailer. And then we have customers that use VertiQ, where the orders are exported from eoStar to VertiQ. And the VertiQ is a huge conveyor belt system that will pull from pallets worth of products and build the orders and palletize them for you. So you just send the orders, and at the end you get a slew of palletized orders that you load them on the trucks, and you can drop them off, boom, boom, boom. So we go again from very simple operations where it's picked manually with a piece of paper to operations like Andrews. We rolled out our voice pick, so where the guys are voice directed to, oh, you pick this, now go to this location, pick 2 people that have, you know, machines, you know, build the orders from them. So and some customers use integrated or external systems. We have interfaces, you know, for dynamically routing, you know, your route, meaning that, Steve, you don't know who you're going to deliver to tomorrow, because one day we have a lot of volume, we're sending 50 trucks on the road. The next day, low volume, 30 trucks on the road, and the rest of the guys, you know, wash their trucks and clean the warehouse, you know. And so, but you'll see that there's a lot of variances in how, you know, people run their business. So, any questions on again the typical, you know, eoStar customer? Again, as you get more interactions with those, you know, set customers, this will be more hands-on. Now, there's the 3 levels of understanding that I wanted to go over. Like I said, ideally, I am going to provide you some valuable information, but if nothing else, the key takeaway is what do I not know that I need to, you know, to learn over the next, you know, next few months. So let's go over those 3 levels, and then I will try and convey, you know, some basic information regarding all 3. The 3 levels are obviously understanding the dynamics of the industry that we're in. You know, what is the legal framework? You know, what are the current trends? What are the constraints? You know, what are the challenges? So, because those drive our product. You know, these are the problems that we're trying to solve. Another level is a chart that, you know, we draw every single time, and that may be a little assignment for you guys to build over time. But what are the actors, you know, in that industry? You know, there's suppliers, distributors, retailers. You know that. Do you know about fintech? You know, what do they do? Do you know about, you know, VIP and SRS? Do you know about the state agencies? Do you know about state, you know, liquor authority and so on? You know, who are all of those peripheral actors that you need to be aware of? And then, if you put the distributor in the middle, how does the product, you know, go from one actor, you know, to the other? You know, how does it go from supplier to retailer? Well, it may make sense, you know. It may seem easy at first, because you think, okay, supplier to distributor to retailer. Yeah, that's 90% of the cases. But on the craft side, they actually have, you know, statewide, you know, organizations like in Wisconsin, where a single distributor does not have the volume of craft sales to justify buying truckloads. So they'll create coalitions that will buy in bulk, you know, the craft beers, and then dispatch, you know, to the various distributors. So my point is that, you know, there's the, it's like Pareto and Pareto rule, you know, the 80-20 rule. You know, there's going to be one rule, you know, that's going to cover 80% of the scenarios, and then there's, you know, variances and exceptions that you need to learn about. And so flow of products is fairly easy. Flow of money is gets a little more, you know, interesting, because you have customers paying in various ways. You pay your suppliers back, but there's excise taxes, so you also need to, you know, to pay, you know, the states, and you have payment facilitators like NACHA, like FinTech, that get in the middle and try and streamline that. And then you have the flow of information. There's all kinds of, you know, pieces of data that flow between the various, you know, actors. It's promotions from, you know, suppliers that go to the distributors. Well, distributors have to actually relay that to customers. It's not to their retailers. It's not suppliers that do that. You know, so each distributor in their own market has to employ people to communicate pricing and promotions and new products, you know, to their customers in their own Excel spreadsheet formats and everything. So as we look at the flow of information, promotions, rebates, you know, there's all kinds of flows that eoStar facilitates, captures and facilitates, that you need to be aware of. So that's level 2. Level 3 is internally. There are, you know, some processes, and I kind of alluded to some of them when I mentioned, you know, palletization, voice picking, truck, you know, optimization, inventory control, write-offs, repacks, bill backs. You know, where you're going to look at what the supplier owes you for certain incentives or promotions and so on. So we have some documents that we use on the implementation side. I will show you high level what those are, but you need to be aware of all those business processes, because the key takeaway from that is there are business processes that they run, okay, that all of our customers run. eoStar is on top of those business processes, and if you don't understand those, you're going to be limited in your understanding of eoStar, because you're not going to understand why they use this, when, what it's for, what the proper corrective actions are, what the best practices are, and so on. So since eoStar sits on top of those business processes, we're going to need from you, we're going to provide you some assistance with that, but a deliberate effort to understand, those business processes so that eoStar makes sense. Like I said, that's going to open up some opportunities for you guys to help out in other areas. And again, the more you help, the more valuable you are to the company. So it's a win-win situation. But to understand, again, to have the ability to have a dialogue with a customer on the implementation side, or on a programming request. They call up support and say, hey, I'd like this enhancement request. Well, okay, let me make sure I understand this. So this is the current process that you're running. You're seeing this as a bottleneck or potential opportunity to streamline things, and let me make sure or phrase that request properly. Then you're going to talk to a programmer and present the idea. Okay, no, they don't want it that way because they thought about this particular downside and so on. So my point is, understanding those internal processes will be very valuable in your ability to interact with customers and grow as an employee here. We're looking for versatility. I mean, we're growing, and we need people that can do several things. So so that's essentially kind of the definition of success. Over the next few months, you need to understand how to press the fintech button, but you also need to understand what fintech does, what their turnaround time is, the two modes of transmission, why people are, why are suppliers pushing distributors to use fintech? Why do they use fintech? Maybe how they can use fintech, but they use fintech because it's going to save their drivers about 15 minutes per stop of not having to go, get a check or a money order or cash. Well, 15 minutes per stop times, a few stops per day, that's a couple additional, stops they can make. They maximize their efficiency, so they're willing to pay, for the payment processing